Hi, I'm Joshua Curving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. I know I missed the last one, but I'll kind of go into that a little bit. So, first off, we have the Mega Man Battle Royale. It was a very good episode. They basically went over everything that I went through in my prediction video. Like, even down to kind of how staggered the results were in and of themselves. I do like that they actually gave the one nod to Walnut that he got, which was the fact that his manual systems couldn't be hacked. So that was fun. The animation was also pretty good. One of the general complaints that I've seen with it that probably is fairly true is that the deaths were a little bit unclear at times. Like with Mega Man and Walnut with the black hole. It might have been better to have Walnut kind of more specifically die. And then with Mega Man X getting overwritten and destroyed, and then destroying Star Force with the laser, same laser as well, it was an easy to miss fact that like the X sprite like vanished and the Stellar one was there and then went away. So it was a little bit trickier to follow. A lot of people that I've seen do reactions and such to the fight kind of don't even realize the fight's actually over when it is. So it's a little bit questionable whether they should have had a bit more clear deaths or not. But overall, it was a very good episode. And then we had the next one. Black Widow versus Widowmaker. I didn't ultimately get a lot kind of together for this one. I know ultimately I wouldn't have needed much because they did gimp Black Widow quite significantly just because of the general big pool of scaling that Marvel characters get. Just it was a stomp through and through. But I ultimately, there was a lot going on for me at the time and I wasn't able to get the video together. Which kind of brings us into this next one. So first of all, I'll just mention the animation for Black Widow versus Widowmaker was okay. I would definitely say like this team's prior works were better. So basically, if we're ranking like Thanos versus Darkseid and Black Widow versus Widowmaker and Optimus Prime versus Gundam, so those specific three, I would say this was the worst of those three. The close quarters combat for it was a little bit janky, kind of stiff. It just didn't feel quite as smooth. And then, while there were some cool, like, I guess, kind of action movie set pieces, it just felt it felt a little bit more flat. And then it didn't really reach the sense of scale that Thanos versus Darkseid had that kind of kept that one to be slightly more interesting. And then just Optimus Prime versus Gundam is like one of the best ones. So it was okay. The kill shot was really cool. The dialogue was iffy. And so that brings us to the next one, which we got out of our Marvel versus Overwatch matchup. And we immediately see another Marvel versus DC fight. Now, before I go in, well, I might as well do my prediction first, actually, is, God, Shazam kills Captain Marvel here so hard. Like, oh, God, I would say poor Carol, but I really don't like Captain Marvel very much. She's kind of a bitch. And her character is just awful. Like, I really don't like Captain Marvel very much. And it's not even a matter of bias when I say that Shazam kills so hard here. Like, even just liberally scaling for either character, and oh man, the only thing here is basically that it's the same name at one point, but in this case, yeah, Billy's just gonna tear her in half. Like, not only does he have so many kinds of energies and magic is specifically one of the things that she's bad with. But, like, he has the wisdom of Solomon, which is basically that he just innately knows shit. It's even kicked in for, like, fighting enemies that he's never seen before, and he specifically knows, like, their attacks, their weaknesses, what they tend to do. he just kind of knows that stuff. So he's going to immediately come into this and go, oh yeah, this chick, she is weak to magic, she absorbs energy, I know exactly what to do, I know exactly what not to do. And he can just utilize her weaknesses. It's really... And even then, the energy that Shazam can put out is astronomically higher than anything that she has ever been shown to actually take. And then he just... It's just so consistently higher in every stat. They've, like, even with the preview that they've given for it, they basically said that Shazam, like, survived the Big Bang, and, like, goes, like, fast enough to, like, travel through time and stuff like that. It just, he is just so badly out of our league. So that kind of sums it up for this fight. There is not a lot to talk about for it, because just Captain Marvel stands no chance whatsoever. He would realistically have her dead long before she ever goes binary, and even binary wouldn't be able to save her from Shazam. So let's get to the kind of more imperative thing that I think for Death Battle. And I know I'm not alone on this. There's a lot of communities that I'm part of that are kind of with me on this one. Death Battle really needs to cool it on the Marvel matchups, specifically, especially Marvel versus DC. Let's look at it this way. For this full season that we've had so far, 3 of the matches out of 4 have had Marvel. 2 of which are Marvel versus DC. We really need to cool it on those matchups. The characters are just kind of not fun to research. It kind of comes down to the same general things each time. And even just excluding, like, hey, it's just the start of this season, if we keep going back, it gets even worse, because I think the last time that we had more than one episode separating Marvel matchups was actually, I believe, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai. It was, I think that one, because there were a couple matchups where, like, Carnage versus Lucy. I'm actually just going to take a... because it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, I remember, like, way back when I posted, like, I believe it was the Sam Fisher versus Solid Snake prediction, and they showed Darth Vader. I was like, oh, he's going to be facing Doctor Doom. So, basically, going back, we have Captain Marvel versus Shazam, Marvel versus DC, Black Widow versus Widowmaker, Marvel, Mega Man Battle Royale, which that's our one. Then we have Aquaman versus Namor, Marvel versus DC, Thanos versus Darkseid, Marvel versus DC, Jiraiya versus Roshi, okay, Ultron versus Sigma, Marvel, Mario versus Sonic, Nightwing versus Daredevil, Marvel versus DC. Yeah, and then we have Optimus Prime versus Gundam, and then Carnage versus Lucy, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai, and so this we got a 2-episode gap with Ryu versus Jin and Afro Samurai versus Samurai Jack, and then we have Doctor Strange versus Doctor Fate. I just feel like that we're kind of oversaturating with those matchups. It's kind of like comic book fights are okay in smaller doses, but I find that they really, really kind of wear you out when you're trying to, I guess, place the characters. So at this point, there's very few, like, Marvel or DC matchups that I'm, like, convinced need to happen. We've kind of gone through most of them, especially now that we've done Aquaman versus Namor. I think, like, Galactus versus Unicron, maybe Ghost Rider could be cool to have in one. And then Big Boss versus Nick Fury, because I'm always okay with more Metal Gear wins. But ultimately, it is kind of wearing thinner, just that how many comic book fights we have. When someone mentioned that to Ben on Twitter, he was like, oh, you'll be surprised as to the next episode, so I'm sure we'll get a non-Marvel matchup next. But the question is, what's after that? Are we still going to keep doing that? Because we've basically had, I think, 10 episodes yeah, 10 episodes, 7 of which are Marvel. That's just really, like... I don't want to say it's really bad. Oh, no, sorry, 6 of which are Marvel. Because, yeah, okay. But, like, that's pretty huge. Like, if I wanted to watch only Marvel versus DC fights, I'd watch Superpower Beatdown. But, yeah, I hope we get some more interesting matchups kind of through here. Like, Mega Man Battle Royale was a great curveball episode. Like, I'd be down with more fights like that, but... yeah, I think I've kind of made my point there. So I will see you guys after the next one. And hopefully we get a really good matchup to talk about there. Alright, you guys have yourselves a great one.